Good evening and welcome to the Four Guys, a Girl, and a Show. I'm JQ. With me always is Mr. Brian Isaacs.
Hey, hey.
Mr. Mike Hopkins.
Yo.
And Mr. Dave Harriman.
How's it going, guys?
Our girl, Miss Stacy Rader, she's out of town this weekend, so it's a boys' night tonight. And we're going to have some things to talk about. We have stuff like Iron Man 3, the trailer released this week, some really good stuff there. We have a good little piece for our action figure fans out there, what we're calling the death of action figures. Not per se the death, but it's just not looking too good for us out there. Got some news about Clark Kent. Got some news about the Turtles. And some other movie news out there that we'll just kind of hit at you when we get to that part. But this week, guys, it's a very, very interesting week in TV, movies, music, toys, you name it. I mean, it's just interesting all around. What'd you think about this week in general? I mean, did you see anything that jumped out at you, Brian, this week?
Well, we got hit with the Iron Man 3 trailer, which isn't looking so bad. Unfortunately, it's just a teaser trailer. It's still kind of early to determine with. It's been pretty much a slow news week this week with everything. I think we're still experiencing like post-New York Comic-Con news, so it's a little slow right now.
Well, you brought up the Iron Man 3 trailer, and it's something we're going to talk about. What did you think? I mean, yeah, it was a little small morsel, but what was your take on that? The one I saw was about just shy of a minute long from the Apple trailers. What did you think about it?
It seems like there's a lot of elements going on there. It's kind of, I did like what I see. I'm still not warming up to the new armor. I don't know, something about the big yellow in the front I just can't get past. But, from what we know, we have the introduction of the Mandarin, which is being played by Ben Kingsley, of all people.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you right now, I was skeptical about that one, but he looked like he played it pretty well.
I don't know. It seems weird to me. It's just... Mandarin is one of these characters that is a Cold War character, and you introduce the character and you're going to piss off the Asian community is going to be pissed off. You don't cast him as an Asian actor, the Asian community is going to be pissed off again. I don't know how they're going to do it, to be honest with you. I've always thought it's just like, as much as I realize that this, the Mandarin has always been like, is Iron Man's Lex Luthor, Joker, whatever you want to say, but he's such a Cold War character. How do you translate that to film without insulting somebody?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's hard to tell. I mean, the 30 seconds that he was in the trailer, I mean, just hearing his voice, it was just chilling. It gave me that fallen hero type feel to it. But I mean, like I said, I'm not 100% the Marvel expert about villains of Iron Man. But it's one of those things where, like I say, is from what I saw as a fan, I can probably buy it, but I can see what you're saying. It might tick some people off. I mean,
it's don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a character I always wanted to see, but unfortunately, we do live in this PC era, and because of this, a lot of things. I mean, come on, look at it. The Man of Steel movie. People are up in arms because Lawrence Fishburne, a African American, playing Perry White. It's just like, really? This is the big deal?
Avatar. They had an American kid playing the Avatar character in the movie, and he's a pure Asian storyline. A lot of people were upset about that when that came out.
That's true.
This PC nonsense is going to wreck everything in Hollywood, if you want my opinion.
What do you mean going on? It already has.
Yeah. But there's other elements that, just from reading it, it's theoretically there's supposed to be something with extremists in the film, because one of the characters is from the extremist storyline. In one of the scenes, You see Pepper being woken up by being grabbed by the armor, and Tony isn't in it, so that could come from the storyline, the man in the mask in the Iron Man, which is where the suit becomes sentient. It's just there are so many possibilities here. I mean, it did capture my interest, and it also does set the time, like sometime after the Avengers formation. So, I mean, I'm curious. It's just I need to see more.
Yeah, he makes mention of the trailers. After New York, nothing was the same, and he does make mention of what happened with Avengers. So I agree, a lot's going on there. What were you saying, Dave?
Well, I mean, I've done a little bit of research, more digging as far as trying to find things out going on with this, and the fact that a lot of the storyline is based in the Extremis armor storyline. And there have been a lot of different questions asked for things that have been seen, one being the Mandarin's 10 rings. At one point in the Marvel Universe, Mandarin does a lot of stuff with using mysticism and magic. Marvel said there's definitely staying away from that kind of thing. Well, you see Mandarin with his 10 rings. In some scenes, you see him in a lot of scenes without any of them. Supposedly, it's just a shout out to fans. The Mandarin in the movie is the leader of the 10 gangs, which the gang that originally kidnapped Tony apparently was part of. They're trying to make this like, it was like a full circle kind of thing to go around first maybe to the
I was told that too. About the guy from the Crimson Jihad in the first one, when he was playing with that ring, was part of that whole motif, and that kind of blew my mind that they would go. I mean, it makes sense, but it blew my mind at the same time.
But here's my question: if they're going to question, or if they're going to make not make sense of Ben Kingsley playing the Mandarin and didn't want to upset the Asian people, then why didn't they worry about that during the first film when they could upset America and everybody else over the terrorist type guys?
Well, they had to update the origin. I mean, Tony Stark's origin is based in Cold War, and it doesn't work on the screen. They needed to update it, and it made sense to bring it into the Middle East.
I agree, but the thing is people still raised hell about that, and they did it anyway.
Well, you're not going to make everybody happy. There's always going to be somebody unhappy with something in the storyline. And that is one thing we got to hold true to everything.
Right.
Someone's always going to be ticked off. That's just the nature of the beast. I mean, Hollywood just doesn't care.
That's
True.
True.
Well, I mean, right now the reviews are saying, people are saying that Ben Kingsley's performance was phenomenal, that he's pulled off a great show. I mean, I think a lot of people, when Mark Ruffalo was chosen as the Hulk in the Avengers, a lot of people were not happy. But after they actually saw his performance, they loved him as the Hulk. He did a great job. So, I mean, given Ben Kingsley's, his history, his acting ability, I'm willing to give him a chance in this to see how he pulls the role off before I condemn it just for the simple fact that he's playing a technically, historically Asian-type character.
Well, the thing is, they didn't even make him look Asian, if you look at it.
With eye makeup.
Yeah, it's just, in the movie, he was in the Thunderbirds, and they really did tried to make him look Indian in that film, and it just looked horrid. I mean, especially seeing the fact how the man played Gandhi, and he did an incredible job with that.
Well, honestly, though, he kind of looks like a dwarf from The Hobbit. I mean, in my opinion. I mean, honestly, he really does. I mean, if you look at him with the hairdo and everything else, that's the first thing I thought was, who's the dwarf?
What about the tattoo in the back of his neck? Anyone notice that?
How can you not notice it? It's all speculation, fanboy, all over the freaking net. Everybody has a theory about it. I'm just like, you know what? I don't care. What does it have to do with it? It's a nod to the fans, most likely. Who cares? Move on. I'd rather hear more about Guy Pearce's character. How they're gonna, use him, or, why is the armor painted up like the Iron Patriot, even though they claim that there is going to be no, per se, Iron Patriot. We're seeing the armor right there. I don't care about the tattoo. There are bigger things that I care about this movie.
Well, I mean, my thing is this, is that this is just pure speculation. I'm going to guess that because of the incident that happened at the end of Iron Man 2, where War Machine and the other drones kind of attacked everything and Iron Man had to clean up the mess, the U.S. Army took War Machine, repainted it, and they're now promoting that as the new War Machine. It looks like the Iron Patriot, but I think they're not calling it that, and that's just what Marvel's using. They're not going to call it that, but they're just using the same similar color scheme.
Which would make sense.
Right.
Now, with the Extremis armor, for what I've read, is that apparently, since the Mandarin is not going to have mysticism-type powers, apparently the rumor is he has a version of the Technovirus in himself as well, which allows him to control machines. So that is why Tony Stark apparently builds an army of Iron Men, or drone-type things similar to what we saw in Iron Man 2, to fight the Mandarin's army that he has. Of course, again, this is all net speculation we're hearing.
One thing I want to know is why fans aren't up in arms, because I don't know about anybody else, but I'm sorry, those rings he's wearing, the Mandarin, they look like they came out of a cereal box. They're so cheesy. They just look like a plastic piece of crap, all of them. It's just like... Really? This is what you guys are worried about, and you're not looking at the rings? Really?
Did anybody get the feeling though from the tone of the teaser, kind of like a Dark Knight Rises, like end of the hero type tone?
It's definitely a darker film, but the thing is, we always knew, Tony was always slated to go down a dark road for failure. You knew this ever since, the storyline Demon in the Bottle, which is, unfortunately, we're never going to get now, because producers say Hancock kind of screwed that up for them. But,
having a drunk superhero?
Yeah.
That just sounds like crap, because they always make excuses as to why they can't do it, but yet they still do the rewrites, they still do the reboots and everything else. There's no reason why it can't be done. That's just a bullshit excuse. Sorry.
It has to do with timing. It's too early.
Exactly.
That's the thing. That's why they're saying it now. 10 years down the road, yeah, they probably tackle it, but not right now.
And I also know that since Agent Coulson, as of right now in the movie, is as far as the Avengers is dead. The character was killed, but we've heard that he's going to be in the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. But for Iron Man 3, the new liaison for Tony Stark from S.H.I.E.L.D. is the Maria Hill character, played by Cody Smulders, same one from the Avengers movie.
How I Met Your Mother.
God, I hate that show.
You don't like Barney? Come on now.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I like Barney, but it's just like, here's my problem with that show. It's just like, you got a guy talking to his kids. Okay, I get the premise that it's going to take a while to get to them there. Fine, I can accept that. But what I have a problem with is the guy won't say he got stoned to his kids, but he'll tell them all about their sexual conquests. I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather hear about my father getting high than about some chick he nailed.
I agree.
It's just like, and we went out to go have a sandwich. Just say dope. Just for the love of God, say you smoked some dope. I would rather hear that coming out of my father's mouth than, so let me tell you about this chick I nailed before I slept with your mother. I'm sorry. It's just, that's my biggest problem with the show. It's just...
Oh, come on, we can't talk about drugs. We talk about sex. That's how TV is. Come on now.
Oh, God. There's nothing wrong with dope smoking. I'm sorry. There, I said it. Everybody frowns upon it. There's nothing wrong with dope smoking.
Shame on you, Brian.
I'd rather see people get stoned than the amount of violence. That's another thing I don't get. It's just like the amount of gore and violence that is invading primetime TV, but still you can't see two people enjoy a joint. Really?
Yeah, you won't hear about bar fights in a joint factory, will you?
Oh my God! It doesn't make any sense.
Well, let's shift gears and get back on track with movies. And let's before we go down a dark path here,
Sorry.
let's talk about stick with Marvel. Announced this week that the Wolverine is not a prequel, and that the film will be set after X3. Let's discuss this. I mean, because from what I understood was, the Wolverine was going to take place after Wolverine Origins, which takes, so how does that happen? Is after Wolverine Origins, a million years goes by, and there we go? I mean, it's one of those. I mean, I know it coincides somewhat, but it's still going to confuse people.
The big confusion is the press release that just came out with the picture has his bone claws. That's why everybody's up in arms. People are like, okay, if this is set in the past, why does he have his bone claws? Or set in the future, why does he have his bone claws? That's what people are getting really confused about.
Are they gonna maybe it's gonna be flashbacks, and he's gonna come across the Silver Samurai in present time? I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah, it really is. But when you release a shot like that, and then you make a statement like that, it's just like, of course, people are going to be like up in arms, trying to figure out what the heck's going on with the timeline, because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, yes, there are stories where his armor got ripped. I mean, where the adamantium got ripped from the skeleton. Yes, we all know that. But it's just like I said, you show one image and make one statement that don't go with each other. Really makes a lot of confusion to people. I mean, personally, I don't have a problem with it being set after X3. The time of it doesn't really matter to me that much.
And here's the problem too, with that, and taking Wolverine Origins into account here. If you have with his bone claws and you're doing flashbacks, like it was mentioned, like say it's a storyline where he's going back to Japan to unfinished business from something that happened in his past when he had bone claws. In X-Men Wolverine Origins, he got shot in the head and lost all his memories previous. So flashbacks don't make any sense. It would, I don't see how they'd fit that in, and that just drives me nuts. God, I want to. You need to have one chief officer in charge of timeline stuff when they do things for any comic book type related movies.
Movies. Movies? How about the freaking comic books themselves, okay? Let's get someone who actually has a timeline for the freaking comic books themselves, because they don't even have that right now. Never mind movies.
It's all over the place.
I know how you feel about that, Brian. That's why I say movies instead of comics. We could go on about DC all day about that.
DC, Marvel's just as bad. Wolverine being in 50 million places at once in the comics.
Very true.
Everybody's okay with that, It's just the lack of continuity in comics these days is just annoying the crap out of me. It really is. And they don't care.
Well, and how do you think it's going? The other movie news from Marvel was that Matthew Vaughn will not be directing X-Men Origins 2, the Days of Future Past. In fact, Bryan Singer is now going to come back to helm the X-Men franchise. So will that have something to do with the Wolverine being changed, or is that just coincidence?
It's coincidence. I don't understand. I mean, there's all kinds of... It probably had to boil down to money. That's why Vaughn hasn't been asked back, because the film made money. If the film didn't make money, they wouldn't have the director back. So obviously he wanted more, or they wanted to pay less. So they got rid of him, but it doesn't make. Again, it's. I'm a little weary on Singer. X-Men 1 and 2 were great, but whatever he did on Superman just sucked.
Yeah, it was no bueno for me.
It was just horrid.
I'm waiting for them to bring back Tobey Maguire for Spider-Man again.
Woohoo!
God.
Because that's the way it sounds like it's going. We're just going to go back and just say, okay, it's like a reboot or something, but not really a reboot. We just decided to go back and bring back Patrick Stewart as Professor X again, and blah blah blah. It just doesn't make any sense. It just sounds like they don't know what they want to do with themselves.
And also, I mean, I know the X properties are owned by one movie company, and then the other Marvels are owned by Disney. So it's like that, in a sense, can be hard to do continuity as well when you have the same characters owned by two different properties. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, not really.
Well, I mean, it seems like they're fighting a lot over who's got what, because it doesn't, because they're talking about a Daredevil reboot, and they're also talking about a Fantastic Four reboot, and it doesn't Warner or somebody own those?
No,
Disney doesn't.
Disney does. I think they just got back the rights to Daredevil.
Okay, but they don't have it for Fantastic Four. I know one of them they didn't have it.
They traded. Both were up, and they decided to take Daredevil back instead of the Fantastic Four.
Which makes no sense, but I'd rather had Fantastic Four because you do more storylines with that than you can really the Daredevil.
Well, I hate to say this, and this is coming from a long-time comic fan. You know, I was okay with the Daredevil movie, and my problem with the Fantastic Four movie is the characters are not something I see making exciting into movies. Their power bases or whatever are okay for flashes in the pan, but they don't have the abilities people want to see or the storylines people want to see that I think can hold a movie film, to be honest. That's just my opinion.
I have to disagree too. I mean, they made so many changes to the FF for the movies, so many compromises. It didn't work. It's, I understand you got to make some changes, but let's face it. It's just like it was bad with Fantastic Four 1, and it got even worse with the lovely cloud that was Galactus. It was horrid. But, I'm like you, Dave. I thought Daredevil was a damn good movie. I don't understand the biggest complaints about it. It's...
I didn't mind it either. I mean, I thought Daredevil, flowed pretty well. I mean...
It was the character.
Yeah.
It was, that was the comic character. I don't understand what people are looking for. I think they were looking for one of Frank Miller's, off the freaking, Nards thing. And I'm like, there's been other writers who wrote Daredevil, guys.
Exactly.
And it was, I thought it was pretty faithful to the character. Yes, there were some problems. Yes, there were some things that need to be improved upon, but I don't think it is as hard as that everybody makes it out the same. Because
it wasn't as bad as Ghost Rider 2.
No, it's just...
Oh, God.
Yeah, but it's like the fall to movie for, epic fails of superhero movies. Even, that moron in charge right now, Jeb Loeb, he always bashes Daredevil, and I'm just like, really? This coming from the guy who created The Hulk and is canceling one of the hottest doing cartoons? You have the nerve to criticize the Daredevil film? You ass.
Yeah, we're like I said, as fanboys, we know we can pray all we want about something done right, but we know it's not going to happen.
Yeah, Ghost Rider is one of those movies that could have been done so much better.
Oy.
And honestly, I don't blame, Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage. He's good in some roles, not so good in others. I don't really blame him. I think the story writing for those movies was especially part 2.
The first one,
horribly.
I liked the first one. The first one I thought was fairly decent. It wasn't great, but I thought it was pretty good. Now, the second one was just looked like it was just thrown together to be putting a movie out. It's like somebody said, okay, let's do this real quick, see if we can get it out and see if it'll do any well. Like, it sounded more like they were trying to appease Nicolas Cage than anybody else.
Maybe. It was just, the character changed from 1 to 2 with no real good explanation. And it wasn't done well either.
It was just hard.
It honestly, like Superman
Well,
Returns.
but if you read Ghost Rider, it did kind of fit because he was always trying to control and keep the demon under control, and he always had a hard time doing it. So it kind of fit to an extent, but not real well.
I
That
got mad
kinda
they killed Giles in the first scene. That pissed me off. Giles from Buffy. I'm a Buffy fanboy. I'm sorry.
Oh. Okay.
Wah, wah.
I
think you lost everybody there.
Yeah, way to kill the conversation.
Oh, stop.
Bad movie, superhero bad remakes, or bad sequels, I would say. Oh, there you go. There's one. What wasn't a sequel, but honestly, The Incredible Hulk was much better than the first Hulk they put out.
Yes, I agree.
That Norton Hulk was much better than the one that piece of junk. Was it Ang Lee that put out the first one?
I like that one.
I kind of liked them both, but the second one was more like the TV show than the actual comic. It reminded you a lot, with the banner music and all that, the doo 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 at the end of the show when we were growing up. So
I agree.
I just felt, I don't know. I like the Ang Lee thing. I think also because I'm an Ang Lee fan. I've been a fan of his movies for a long time. I thought he did a decent job. I like how the entire film kind of looked like a comic book. But it wasn't a perfect movie. I'm not going to admit it was, but I thought the effects were pretty, I thought it was well cast and the effects were done pretty well.
It was cool to see him transform in that aspect for the first time like that, but I don't know, I kind of lost toward the end. The whole absorbing man thing at the end kinda got me.
I thought they did take a little too long in the beginning, leading up to his origin. Banner's origin was just like, okay, we get it, he was abused. Can we move a little forward with the script, please?
Yeah, that was my point. Is they carried on too much of the whole abuse. It was too psychologically in depth with it, and I think it lost a lot of people on that end. Like, people understand, it's an interesting part of the story, but when you're using that to be a backdrop for like 80% of the movie, it gets to be, boring.
Ang Lee was so great as the Hulk. He was great. I can't believe he actually did that. He was the Hulk in the movie. That had to be the funniest thing. And he dressed up in all the CGI stuff himself. That was pretty cool.
Anything to save a few bucks.
Yeah, right.
He had fun with it.
I did like how when the Hulk got shot or got angrier, he got bigger in the movie.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that kind of explained to people, that people hear the angrier Hulk gets, the madder he gets. It's kind of hard to display that without an actual physical change in the character. That was one good way to try and relay that to somebody who may not be a hardcore Hulk fan.
Well, one thing about both movies I did like is they were both nice homages to Bill Bixby and the old TV show.
Yes.
Yes.
Both of them had a lot of elements from that, and I like the fact that both directors both acknowledged that, and that was really nice.
My problem is with all the movies is we're still focusing on the same characters when we have so many characters out there in the universe. I mean, why aren't we doing an X-Force movie?
Well, they're slowly building up to it. I mean, you got to, Marvel's doing a lot better than DC is. I mean,
in the movie,
live action-wise, yes, but DC does well at cartoon movies.
Yeah, but how far and few between those are is just. I mean, they may do well at cartoon movies, but still, it's still Superman, Batman, Superman. I mean, you've heard this.
No, I agree.
For the upcoming year for the animated movies, Superman, Batman, Superman, Batman, Superman, Batman. It's just like they don't want to take a risk on another character, and when they do come out with the movies, how many ads did anybody see for The Dark Knight Returns? I think I saw 0. They don't advertise them.
Oh, in the comics they do, but not on
the
TV.
Cartoon, you mean? Yeah, I saw a couple here and there.
Yeah, but but they'll advertise some other crap that they have coming out.
Of course.
It goes back to, how much is Warner really invested in DC Comics? and it really gives off the impression not a whole hell of a lot.
The Wonder Woman film didn't do that bad, though.
Oh, actually, it did horribly sales-wise.
See, people talk about it, though. They enjoyed watching it. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about it.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't a good film. I'm just saying sales-wise, it was a bomb in their eyes. It didn't do that well. I thought it was great. I loved it. And just to hear Wonder Woman just say, oh, crap, come on. You can't get it better. You can't get better than that. But it just keeps going back to their, it's how much, look at this. We don't even have freaking DC Nation on anymore. We can't even get an explanation as to why. How much faith does Warner have in this friggin' property? And if they don't have any faith, sell it to somebody who does already.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Young Justice was getting so good, and it just makes me mad to think that in January it may not be there, because unless they're going to make an hour and a half or a 2-hour DC Nation block, I mean, something's got to go, and they're not going to go to Green Lantern because it's the kid thing. I mean,
agreed. Now going back to what Brian said, I'm going to expand on this a little bit, because and this is something that annoys me with TV shows. Being a big sci-fi fan, I was a huge Stargate fan for years. They finally put out, after the new Battlestar Galactica ended and Stargate ended, they put on Stargate Universe, which was a decent storyline. It had a great acting cast, and the writing was pretty good. It didn't have the ginormous fan base that Battlestar Galactica and Stargate had, or Stargate Atlantis before that. But it had a pretty decent-sized fan base. But because it wasn't the numbers they wanted, the Sci-Fi Channel canceled it. And they brought on this show called Alphas. Alphas still to this day does not have even half the number of viewer numbers that Stargate Universe had. But it doesn't cost anywhere near as much to produce, and it's a solely owned property by Sci-Fi Channel.
The one thing I've learned about Alphas, I mean, I watch that show every week. It's when they use their abilities, there's no effects. I mean, there's maybe when Bill pumps up and you see the heartbeat thing. Other than that, you really don't see much abilities. They're there and they can use them, but it's kind of like they have a cop out where they save money on the CG, I guess.
Exactly. And that's what annoys me, is that because Stargate Universe cost more money to make, even though it had a larger fan base, they canceled it because they said, oh, this costs too much, even though we've got more viewers, to put something on that costs them less but has less viewers.
But that's not the first time that happened. It won't be the last time.
Yeah, I mean, look at V. I thought V was an awesome show until they got to the end of it and where they took it at the end. But they canceled it because it cost too much money.
Well, the whole show was green screen. I mean, everything about that show was green screen. I mean, when they were walking on the ship, I mean, same thing with Once Upon a Time on ABC. The whole show is green screen, except for when they're in the city.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, here's another one. The biggest one right now is probably Firefly. It costs too much to make, apparently, according to Fox. They took it off the air, but look at the following. It's still got a huge following.
Whedon wants to go back to it. Even the whole cast wants to do it again. But Whedon's so tied up with S.H.I.E.L.D. and now Avengers 2. I mean,
up until New York, up until Comic-Con in San Diego, Whedon didn't want to go back to it because it hurt too much. It really just hurt him on a person, because it was such a personal thing for him, that for it to be canceled just really hurt him emotionally. But now that he's decided to go back, it's a great thing. But it's just
a phenomenal show.
I mean, it's just.
But they've done that. They've canceled shows like that before. I mean, look at Family Guy. I mean, I know it's not the same type of show, but still, it had such a cult following behind it that they brought it back. I mean, same thing with Futurama and shows like that. They do it all the time.
Yeah, so but the thing with Family Guy and Futurama is Futurama got canceled. It found new life on another channel. Family Guy got saved because it was showing late nights on Cartoon Network. If it wasn't for those two things, those shows never would have came back.
True.
Well, look, if you watch Family Guy, just to quick interject, on Family Guy, on the first episode when they came back, they made fun of it at the end.
Oh, they made fun of it in the beginning.
Oh, it was the beginning where he said, what's the chances of coming back? He goes, well, these shows have to be canceled. And he rattled off like 32 shows that they had put on that got canceled.
Yeah. He basically slammed, Fox programming right there. It had to be the funniest thing. It's kind of funny. I think the biggest irony is just Fox networks in general. It's just like their entertainment shows are just so out there, and yet their news, Fox News, is seen as the Satan.
Yep, exactly.
It's just it's hilarious. It's like
all right, guys, let's move on to figures. I think we done hammered this enough.
Yeah.
Way off topic.
I mean, let's talk about action figures and toys. I mean, I don't know about you, but as a collector of the plastic gold here, it seems to me that we are seeing a decline in quality and an incline in crap. I mean, it's hard to say what we're going to see and what it is, but I mean, looking at my shelf, I see all my DC collections. I have some Marvel around. I have some Turtles on here from Nickelodeon stuff, and even then, I see the Nickelodeon Turtles at Walmart were selling for $7.77, and now they're selling for $8.88. So there's a whole $1 increase there. It could be Christmas time. It could be just because they're selling well and they want to make more money off it. But
it's messed up to begin with. I mean, the DC Universe fans were screaming for Rita Farr to come out, the Elastigirl. She's still, and they had the sale on the 15th. She didn't sell out. They're still selling her.
Right.
So
I mean, a good thing is, she was the oversized figure, so she was 45, I think it was.
No, she's 30. She's 35, which is
35. That was, yeah. It's not. I mean, it's still not bad, but $35 for a 9-inch figure. I mean, I mean, I could see the point, but people were kind of gun shy. But you got characters like Poison Ivy and Black Mask who sold out. I mean, people. Once again, there you go. The Batman villains. People have been wanting those selling out. But with Rita Farr, I know. I mean, I got mine. I'm looking for. Hopefully, in 2013, we see a Mento. That way, we can have our Doom Patrol put together.
No, still missing a character.
The Chief.
We'll never get a character in a wheelchair because Lord knows we've been screaming for an Oracle for the longest freaking time. We'll never get one of those either.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I have secured me a Professor X figure. I'm going to pop on my extra head from Starman, and I have my Chief done in a couple weeks.
Jason, the great customizer.
Hey, I gotta get my team up somehow.
That's what you got to resort to. Is team completion these days is to customize it. Personally, I still feel like we're several characters short of a Justice Society. We don't have the Golden Age Superman. We don't have a Johnny Thunder. We don't have a Star Spangled Kid. It's I mean, you look at. I don't know if you've been paying attention to Mag.com for the Castle Grayskull, but I mean, you look at the thermometer they use for the DC sub, and the minimum order was so high up there on the sales bracket to get just the sub to go, and then even higher to get new tooled figures for 2014. Then you look at the Castle Grayskulls, and that bar is set so low, and I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, it's $250. They're selling it for $250. It's not probably costing them $250 to make it, but why was the Castle Grayskull order sold? Even for the Miss Martian and Superboy, that bar was so high for figures that people wanted. Who owns the rights? That's what it comes down to. Marvel, Mattel owns the rights to Masters. They don't own the rights to the DC characters. So DC, Warner is dictating the rules there. Well, I mean, now, does that mean if it's, say, a 2013 sub, I mean, people can't buy into it. People want it now.
I mean, they closed that window for people to jump in there, but now people want to jump in. They saw the first 6, and now everybody wants to jump in on it. And so now it's going to clamor for the collectors to go on the website on the 15th and get it. But now 2014 rolls around. Do they offer it again and just reuse the same body sculpts and just resculpt a head here and there? Or do they bite the bullet and retool new sculpts? I mean, but I mean, if that's the case, I mean, what if the licenses switch over? What if DC goes to Hasbro? If that's the case, what are we going to see then? Are they going to redo every figure again? I mean, we're going to have new Batmans, new I mean,
Yeah.
It's like wash, rinse, repeat, and it's almost, as a collector, I'm upset.
If they go to another manufacturer, you got to understand, while Warner owns the likenesses to these characters, they don't own the design.
Well, I would love to see an MU style Superman and Batman.
Yeah, that's what we'd end up with. We'd end up with a buttload of 3 and 3, very detailed 3 3/4 figures, which wouldn't be so bad. But it's a trade-off.
It's the same thing we were discussing before, though. Mike just said he wanted to see Superman and Batman, but here's the problem we're having with action figures today, I think. And again, they're popular. So we've had, over the years, hundreds of Superman and thousands of Batman, thousands of Spider-Man figures just thrown at us. At what point do we reach a critical mass where, especially kids, you figure a lot of these things are geared toward kids. The collectors are definitely more of an afterthought for the most part. When you're talking about your mass-produced figures that go into the toy shelves, it's mainly for children. Well, at what point do children say, I've had enough Batman and Spider-Man? They don't want any more. And when those products don't sell in big numbers, the companies stop making the stuff.
Never happened.
I mean, the thing is, the big wigs, they hear Batman, Superman, and the dollar signs, the cash register sound goes off in their heads. I mean, the ultimate backfire, though, is when people don't buy them, then they feel like, oh, well, we can't sell them, and they stop making them. And it's a vicious circle. I mean, you look at the Dark Knight Rises toys. The movie masters were slow to get off. And then once people started seeing that, hey, I can build this bat signal, and then, they stopped seeing them. And it became sought after. But then those little less than 5-inch ones came out, and oh my God, what happened there? They're still all over the shelves. I mean,
and that's the reason why, and I have some good authority from actual talking to Toy Guru, is why we don't have action figures for the Green Lantern animated series. See, this is the problem, is the stores will go ahead and blame the manufacturer when they're the ones who don't understand how to order. They don't understand case packing. They don't understand how to order these products.
I mean, I agree. It's horrible when I walk around. I have 4 Walmarts to walk around and 1 Target. And out of those 4, I see some cool things in one, but I never see another. Like, the Walmart in one town here never gets anything. I mean, it still has Toy Story 3. It still has the those Bobo G.I. Joes, not the actual G.I. Joes. They're not even called G.I. Joes. But I mean, it's hard. It's hard, in my opinion, to justify the distribution of these figures. When you hear up in Wisconsin, they're getting like all these cool figures, but down in like you're in Jersey, Brian, you don't see any of those things. But in like rural Wisconsin, they're seeing them up there.
But that goes, like I said, that goes back to, that's on a store level. That has nothing to do with the manufacturer. I mean, I have it on good. I've spoken to Walmart, and they admitted to me that this is the way they order things. It's a half-ass way they do it, but it's the way they order things, and their distribution sucks. It doesn't. I mean, now when it comes to the manufacturing, where their fault is case packing. It doesn't help when you have character X who everybody wants, and then you got 50 Batman in there. I mean, that doesn't exactly help the scenario to begin with.
Right.
But
that's always been my gripe is why you have, if it's say case assortment A has, it's Batman, Batgirl, Robin, and Nightwing. Let's say, for example, well, there's gonna be one Batgirl, two Nightwings, two Robins, and four Batmans. Like, what the hell? Why? I mean, yeah, Batman's the moneymaker, he's the name, but everyone's gonna want to try to find Batgirl to complete their set. And if you have one per case, the chances are not everyone's going to be able to complete their set.
Well, that's a $50 question right there, and nobody seems to have an answer for that.
But on the other side of it, I mean, you'll find like rows and rows and rows of that crap Bakugan or whatever the hell it is. And, you'll have like 2 rows of Batman figures, and that's why the case distribution the way it is because, okay, we'll have 2 rows of Batman and 20 rows of Bakugan because Bakugan is what sells.
Which is pathetic to begin with, that crap, like Pokemon, why is that crap even popular among our youth?
Because it doesn't require any work. You remember growing up and playing with action figures, you'd spend half your day digging in the dirt, making trenches and battlegrounds and everything else, and the other half actually setting up the figures. And by the time you were done, you couldn't even play with them. You had to go in the house.
Yeah, but also when we were growing up, there were a lot more, U.S., I don't know about U.S., but there were a lot more animated shows with a couple of redubbed anime shows. There were only a couple. I mean, there was like Star Blazers,
Robotech,
Battle,
Johnny Quest.
No, Johnny Quest is Hanna-Barbera.
Thunder, Voltron,
Battle of the Planets, and well, that's Battle of the Planets. They all had very little merchandise to begin with, too. But there was a shift at some point in time in the friggin' Pokemon. And, now we got all these...
I saw Pokemon's intrigue years ago when it first came over here, and, the game was relevant. The card game became real popular here, too. But now it's a formal shell of what it used to be, and they're just kind of milking it for what it's worth. But, I mean...
Somehow it's selling.
You come back to, like I said, my argument with the Turtles, the Nickelodeon Turtles. The reason why you can't keep those on the shelves, and, it's the price point. They're under $10. You're getting decent articulation, a decent put-together figure for under $10. And in my opinion, there's not many there. Besides the Foot Soldier, I see them all over the place. There's probably one or two Turtles I don't see a lot of. But, now with, for example, last Saturday, Metalhead made his appearance, and then that wave just started coming out. And they're being real smart with distribution because they're doing it based on the episodes. And now with this Metalhead episode, I can expect that figure to just fly off the shelves.
But it's not always like that. There are screw-ups. Look at G.I. Joe Retaliation. They shot their wad early, and the movie got pulled.
And the figures were shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The lack of articulation in the vehicle figures was just horrible. And you know what? I'm not a huge vehicle guy when it comes to G.I. Joes, but I did not pick up one of those vehicles because, you know what? The one thing I did like about G.I. Joe from the beginning is your vehicle figures were just as posable as your regular figures, and that's what made them so popular. And now, it's like, oh, well, I'll bend at the legs and I'll bend at the arms, and that's it.
And see, you ended up getting spoiled because of the articulation.
Yeah. Right. But even the stands, too. None of them come with stands. I have the original set that came out before the Retaliation movie, and none of them have stands. The ninjas can't even hold swords. It was just crap. It's like they threw it together and said, okay, let's put it in the store shelves. And now, they pull it all out because of the movie, but they don't offer us anything else. Dude, do you know how many figures they have that are that they could make into actual figures right now? I mean, it's unbelievable. When they did the G.I. Joe Con, they had so many heads and so many figures out there that they could have done that they didn't do, and you're like, why? These were awesome figures. These are like the best looking figures that you guys have put up to date, but yet you won't produce them.
Yeah, but
I have one, Mike. I have one question. Do they still have a swivel arm battle grip?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, but
They actually improved it because what they did with the hands is the hands actually go up and down or from side to side on a good amount of them. Not all of them are like that, but a good amount of those figures do have that ability, which really improved the articulation of the figure. But then they started doing this crap where they raised the price, and then they started taking out the battle stands, just like they did with the MU figures. And it's like, you know, you were doing, why break something that was doing well? Because you know what? You could go into any store and not find G.I. Joes on the shelf, period. And then they started doing this crap, and now you see them on the shelves more and more and more because people are so mad with Hasbro and what happened with the movie that nobody really wants to buy any of the stuff.
Right. And same thing with the Marvel Legends. I mean, people feel cheated about not having a Build-A-Figure in this wave 3. You have a variation of every character, but no Build-A-Figure. And people are kind of like, well, you know, it's almost like if you had all these variations, make another wave. Why say, okay, well, in a couple months we're going to have Blade instead of Punisher, Moonstar instead of so-and-so, and so-and-so instead of so-and-so. It just, to me, it's like, make another wave. If you have all those figures lying around, why do you have to change a running change halfway through? I mean, to me, it's almost like toy companies want to sell on eBay. It's basically what it comes down to, in my opinion. It's if you don't live in an area that gets good distribution, like Brian said, or if you don't live in an area that gets anything, for example, you're fresh out of luck collecting.
Yeah, but if you go on these websites, BBTS, Entertainment Earth, they have tons of them. You can order a case of the figures right now of Wave 3, but they haven't even hit stores yet.
because they're Build-A-Figures, because they get like. See, the thing is,
No, not even the Build-A-Figures. The ones that just came out. If you go on BBTS right now, they have cases of them that you can buy right off.
I'm sorry. I meant they buy the figures in advance because these are all pre-orders.
But they do, as Brian said, a pre-order. They go on the website, say okay, and they get you're basically getting cases for cost. I mean, I used to do this years ago at the old Marvel Legends, where we would go with a company and basically get all of our stuff cases at cost. If we guaranteed 20 to 25 cases in our group, we got them for cost. And it's the same thing at a comic shop. You know, I think Dave can attest to this, where, you know, we may get a case, but we can't sell them for the price that Walmart sells them, or that Big Bad Toy Store can sell them for. The price just to make business.
Are we losing Jason?
I think so.
Yeah, but I got to agree with what Jason's saying, though. You know, I order these figures myself, and I still do occasionally. But generally, after we're paying for shipping, I'm getting the cost of the figure for maybe 50, 60 cents less than what it costs to put on the shelves at the store, because Walmart or Toys R Us orders hundreds of cases of these things, and although the distribution is horrible, they still get the lower cost. So people get in their heads, well, Toys R Us has this for $14.99. Okay, but what Toys R Us do you know has it? Well, none, but I can go 3 states away and find it. Okay, how much money have you wasted in gas?
This
So
is why
trying to earn a shopping is horrible for secondary markets.
Well, this is why I don't do these lovely toy hunts anymore. I've kind of given up on it because it's just like I got tired. You know, I started doing pre-orders because I got tired of running around wasting gas.
Yeah,
you know, just to get just for disappointment. It was just like I would, you know, I'd plan a day, go on a run, go to like, you know, 10 stores or something like that, and they'd all have the same crap, and I'd never find anything. I mean, I had a brand new Target open up by me a couple of years back. I went there opening day, one of the first ones in line, knew about a new wave that was coming out for the DC Universe, beeline it right to the toy section. They were, and this is a brand new store, mind you, 5 waves behind. That ain't the manufacturer. That's poor-ass distribution.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because
That's them trying to get rid of what they got in the warehouse.
Yeah, and that's this is why collectibles are going to go down the crapper from these stores, and we're going to end up losing things like Marvel Universe and DC Universe. We're going to end up losing it because the big retail stores are really killing it for us.
But it's also the distribution as well, because I have on my wall a figure right now. It's a Destro, what they call the money bag Destro. It was wave 4 of the last of the Rise or Pursuit of Cobra before they switched over to the 30th anniversary. And the reason why it got shut down was because they were doing the 30th anniversary figures. That figure's going through the roof right now because you cannot find it anywhere. That one and the low light I have on my wall too is another one. It was poor distribution, and they got rid of those figures, and then they decided to not put them out anymore. And now nobody can find them, so you're seeing them for $50, $70, $100 on some of them.
Well, another problem and it's a problem I have at a lot of my local stores, is that the places don't have any common sense like Target and Walmart. They don't have common sense when it comes to these action figures. If there's a figure that sits on your shelf for months, what we call peg warmers, places like Target will not restock their shelves till what is currently on the peg are gone. And when that happens, like currently my Target has like 12 Submariners from Marvel Universe sitting on the shelf and like another 8 Gladiators. They won't put any more out. Even if they have 10 cases in the back, they won't put any more out till those are gone. I would think common sense would say pull them off to sell the product you got in the back to make money.
But you got to watch people too, because what people will do is buy up all those figures so that your store will restock up and then return all the figures.
Return them all, yeah.
Oh, and I understand that, but the problem is that the people who work at these stores have no thought process in it, and I think that the companies really want a product to sell better. Maybe they should do some kind of training or in-services for these stores to teach them this is how to better move your product.
But Dave, you got to remember these people that work at these stores don't care.
I know.
I mean, they really don't.
know.
They don't get paid enough to care. So, I mean, it sucks, and I'm behind you 100% if they could train these people better for us. But for us, it would be awesome. But they're not going to because it would cost them too much money.
I mean, I remember working at Toys R Us a couple Christmases ago. Like, this is moons ago. But, I mean, I remember a guy saying to me, in all the years I've done Christmas shopping, you are the most informed person about these toys that I've ever had in my life. And he thanked me, like, because he asked people, and they're like, well, I don't know, I think he's red. Yeah, he's red, that's what I'm talking about. But it's like, it's weird how people don't know. And that could be what could be the downfall, too, the unknown.
Because they don't want to know. They don't get paid enough to know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you find a good guy that works at the Toys R Us or the Walmarts or Targets, they'll help you as much as you're willing to get them to help you. But you got to be willing to schmooze them in order to get it, because I guarantee a lot of these guys that sell at flea markets and eBay and stuff know who to talk to and who not to talk to, and they know who the moron is that will give them, the case in the back so that they can buy it, and the guy that won't because he knows better.
True. Oh. All right, guys. Well, looking like our time is up for tonight. We had a good discussion, guys. Really good talks today. Well, as we end all of our shows, with some shout-outs, and our first shout-out is going to be to our parent host, Mr. Brian at Pendragon's Post. Also going to give a shout-out to Custom Collaboration Coalition. This Facebook page is really good for customizers, and even have questions for customs, for example, what paint to use and what sculpt to use, or how to make a pressure mold casting. There's tutorials for everything on there. So if you're looking to start customizing or get some pointers, go ahead and jump on that site right there. And also, we'll give a shout out to 3 Alarm Comics. Some good things are coming from there. So stay tuned to this podcast for some cool news from 3 Alarm. Anything else we want to talk about tonight, guys?
Nope, I'm all good.
I'm good.
All right.
It's a good night.
All right, for David, Michael, and Brian, this is JQ. Have a good night.